It was a perfect Tuesday morning in Miami, Florida. The kind that makes you believe life is a postcard, golden sun glinting off the Atlantic. A warm breeze carrying the scent of salt and freedom. My name is Evelyn Harper, and at 62, I thought I'd seen it all. A widow with a $4 billion tech fortune left by my late husband, James. I'd spent the last 3 years navigating grief and a strained relationship with my only son, Ethan, and his wife, Lauren. But that morning, as I slipped into a cream silk dress that James always said made me look like a vision, I felt a flicker of hope. Ethan had called me himself, no assistant, no cold text, inviting me for a family celebration on his new yacht to toast my recovery from knee surgery. His voice was warm, almost like the boy I'd raised, and I let myself believe we could be a family again. That was my first mistake. The marina was a glittering showcase of wealth, with yachts bobbing like polished jewels against the turquoise water. Ethan's new boat, a 50-foot masterpiece of sleek white fiberglass and chrome, stood out even among the millionaire's toys. He greeted me at the dock with a hug that felt too tight, too staged, like he was performing for an invisible audience. Lauren, his wife of 5 years, watched from the deck, her smile sharp enough to cut glass. "Isn't she a beauty, Mom?" Ethan said, gesturing to the yacht with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "We're thinking Bahamas next month." I nodded, but a nagging unease settled in my gut. Last year, I'd given them $5 million to expand Ethan's real estate venture. Now, staring at this floating palace, I wondered how much of that money had actually gone to business. The first hour was deceptively perfect. We sailed out of Miami, the coastline shrinking to a hazy line as the ocean stretched endlessly around us. Lauren poured chilled Prosecco, her laughter bright as she talked about renovating the Coral Gables mansion I'd gifted them after James's death. I'd moved to a penthouse downtown, thinking it would simplify my life. But the distance between us had grown colder than the champagne in my hand. Then Ethan's questions started, casual at first. About my estate, my trust, whether I'd considered streamlining things for them. "Probate's a nightmare, Mom," he said, refilling my glass with a little too much enthusiasm. "We just want to make sure everything's set for the future." That's when I noticed Lauren's phone. She was pretending to snap selfies, but the lens was angled at me, capturing every sip, every word about my finances. The pieces clicked together like a lock snapping shut. The knee surgery 6 weeks ago, when they'd insisted on handling my paperwork, the power of attorney they'd slipped into the hospital forms, calling it temporary, the way my financial advisor had gone silent. I set my glass down, my voice steady despite the chill creeping up my spine. "Ethan, I'd like to head back to shore." His face changed, the warmth draining like water from a cracked vase. "That's not happening, Mom," he said, his tone hard as steel. Lauren stepped closer, her eyes glinting with something predatory. "We've got documentation, Evelyn. Doctors agree you're not fit to manage your affairs anymore. Signs of cognitive decline." "Confusion?" I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Cognitive decline? I'm sharper than both of you combined." But the truth was dawning. We were miles from land. No other boats in sight. Just the three of us and their plan to force me to sign over everything, or worse. Ethan pulled out a folder, sliding it across the table. "Sign these, Mom. Full transfer of assets to us. For your own protection. We all go home happy." I glanced at the papers, then at the ocean, vast and indifferent. It was less terrifying than the two people I'd once called family. "Go to hell," I said, my voice low but firm. Lauren's smile twisted, and she leaned in close, her breath hot against my ear. "Say hi to the sharks for us." Before I could react, she shoved me, hard but calculated, just enough to send me stumbling over the railing. I hit the water with a shock of cold, my dress dragging me down as Ethan's voice echoed above, theatrical and false. "Mom. Oh God, Mom." Through the waves, I heard Lauren on the phone, her voice calm. "Yes. File the emergency petition Monday. She's clearly incompetent." The Atlantic closed over me, and I fought to stay conscious. James and I used to swim laps every morning. But the cold in my still healing knee made every kick a battle. I shed my shoes, broke the surface, gasping, just in time to see the yacht speeding away. They were leaving me to die. Fate, or maybe sheer luck, had other plans. A fishing boat, the salty dawn, appeared on the horizon. Captain Tom Bennett, a grizzled 58-year-old with a face carved by decades at sea, and his teenage daughter, Mia, hauled me aboard. Jesus, lady, what happened to you? Tom asked, wrapping me in a rough blanket that smelled of fish and diesel. My teeth chattered so hard I could barely speak. My family, I managed. Tom glanced at the vanishing yacht, his jaw tightening. What kind of people leave someone in the middle of the ocean? Shivering under the blanket, I told them enough. Ethan, Lauren, the $4 billion fortune. I begged them not to call the Coast Guard. I need to get to shore without anyone knowing I'm alive. Tom's eyes, sharp from years reading the sea, studied me. You're in deep trouble, aren't you? He radioed a false report, debris in the water, no survivors, and steered us toward a quiet dock in Key Biscayne. There, Mrs. Rosa Alvarez, a no-nonsense woman in her late 60s who ran a discreet bed and breakfast, took me in without a word. She handed me a bowl of caldo gallego and a towel, her eyes saying she'd seen worse secrets than mine. That night, in a small room at Rosa's, I sat with a mug of coffee, my mind racing. Ethan and Lauren were back in Miami, playing the grieving family, planning my funeral, and dividing my fortune. They thought I was fish food, but I was alive, furious, and ready to turn their game against them. As I stared out at the moonlit ocean, I began to plan. Little did I know, I was about to uncover something far darker than betrayal, a secret child, a forged birth certificate, and a criminal empire that thrived on the deaths of people like me. The air in Rosa Alvarez's bed and breakfast was thick with the scent of Cuban coffee and the weight of my new reality. I, Evelyn Harper, a 62-year-old widow with a $4 billion fortune, had survived an attempt on my life by my own son, Ethan, and his wife, Lauren. They'd pushed me off their yacht into the Atlantic, believing they'd secured my wealth. But I was alive, hidden in a Key Biscayne safe house, and burning with a resolve to unravel their scheme. What I uncovered in the days that followed was far worse than betrayal. It was a sprawling criminal empire built on the graves of the vulnerable. And I was about to bring it crashing down. The first clue came from Tom Bennett, the fisherman who'd pulled me from the ocean. He'd heard whispers at the marina about Ethan and Lauren's sudden wealth, new cars, private jet rentals, and a yacht that screamed money laundering. But it was a chance meeting with Jack Sullivan, a private investigator Tom knew from his charter days, that cracked the case wide open. Jack, a wiry 48-year-old with graying hair and eyes that missed nothing, wasn't just a pie. He was a former FBI agent working undercover to dismantle a shadowy network targeting wealthy seniors. Over coffee at Rosa's, he spread out photos and files that made my blood run cold. Your son and daughter-in-law aren't just greedy, Jack said, his voice low. They're pawns in a bigger game run by Sophia Bennett, no relation to Tom, a lawyer who's been fleecing elderly millionaires for years. Sophia, it turned out, was married to my accountant, Michael Bennett, the man who'd been dodging my calls for months. Jack's evidence was chilling. Sophia's firm, Bennett and Associates, specialized in estate transition services, a euphemism for orchestrating the deaths of rich seniors to funnel their fortunes to impatient heirs. She'd been linked to 37 suspicious deaths over 5 years, each ruled an accident or natural cause, each leaving grieving families millions richer. The most gut-wrenching revelation was about a baby, a newborn named James Lily Harper, listed as Ethan and Lauren's son on a forged birth certificate. Jack's contacts at a discreet Miami fertility clinic, Coastal Horizons, revealed the truth. The baby's mother was Lily Carter, a 16-year-old runaway from Orlando, paid $60 to carry a child for a loving couple. She'd died during delivery under mysterious circumstances, her death certificate citing complications, despite her perfect health. The baby was a prop, a manufactured heir to legitimize Ethan and Lauren's claim to my fortune. I clutched the edge of Rosa's kitchen table, my knuckles white. They killed a girl for this. I whispered. Jack nodded grimly. And they're not done. I couldn't sit still. Ethan and Lauren were living in my old Coral Gables mansion, playing the grieving family while plotting their next move. I needed evidence, hard proof to bury them. Late one night, under the cover of a moonless sky, Tom drove me to the mansion's back gate. I still had a key, one Ethan had never thought to take back. Slipping inside felt like stepping into a stranger's house. The rooms I'd filled with laughter and love were now cold, draped in sheets. But signs of new wealth were everywhere. A $20 Italian sofa. A wine fridge stocked with bottles that cost more than most people's rent. In James's old study, I found their playbook, a folder labeled, Evelyn Project. My own name, reduced to a code name for my murder. The documents detailed a year-long campaign to paint me as senile. Staged photos from Ethan's birthday party where they deliberately confused me to capture a lost expression. Medical records falsified with Michael Bennett's help. Even a hospital visit they'd orchestrated by swapping my pain meds to land me in the ER. But the most damning was a letter signed, SB, Sophia Bennett. Evelyn's asking questions about the trust. Moved to Phase 3 within 2 weeks. Phase 3. My death. I snapped photos with a disposable camera Tom had given me, my hands trembling with rage. Then I heard it, a baby's cry. My heart stopped. In a nursery upstairs, a tiny boy with dark curls and solemn blue eyes lay in a crib surrounded by luxury baby gear. Ethan and Lauren had never mentioned a child. This was James Lilly, the baby they'd bought to secure their inheritance. I was photographing the nursery when headlights swept the driveway. Ethan and Lauren were home. I slipped out the back just as their voices echoed through the house. Did Mrs. Rivera buy the story? Lauren asked, referring to my old neighbor. She was too busy crying to ask questions. Ethan replied, the will's ready for probate Monday. Sophia says we'll have the accounts in 6 weeks. I crouched in the garden, my pulse racing, the baby's cry still ringing in my ears. This wasn't just about my money anymore, it was about a child's life. I knew I had to confront them. But not yet. First, I needed allies. Jack introduced me to Maria Rivera, the nanny Ethan and Lauren had hired through one of Sophia's shell companies. Maria, a kind-hearted single mom in her 30s, thought she was caring for a legitimate newborn. Over tea at Rose's, I showed her the photos. The forged birth certificate, the evidence of Lily Carter's death. Her face crumpled. He's an orphan, she whispered, looking at a picture of James Lilly. I'll help you protect him. The plan was risky but calculated. While Ethan and Lauren met Sophia at her downtown Miami office to finalize my legal death, I walked into my old mansion at noon, ringing the bell like a guest. Maria answered, holding a bottle, her eyes widening as she recognized me from the news. Evelyn Harper? You're dead. I smiled. Not quite. May I come in? Inside, I held James Lilly, his tiny warmth grounding me. His name should be James Lilly Harper, I told Maria, for his grandfather and his mother, who died for him. When Ethan and Lauren returned, I was waiting in the living room, seated in the leather armchair James had loved. Their faces were a study in shock. Lauren screamed. Ethan froze, keys dangling from his hand. Hello, darlings, I said, my voice dripping with calm menace. How was your meeting? Hope you didn't sign anything too binding. Lauren recovered first, her voice shaking. You're supposed to be dead. I held up a photo from their Evelyn Project folder. Funny thing about drowning, it's harder when good people are around to fish you out. Maria brought out James Lilly, playing her role perfectly. Mrs. Harper wanted to meet her grandson, she said. Ethan's eyes darted to the baby, panic flickering. He's our son. He stammered. I tilted my head. Is he? Because Lauren didn't look 3 weeks postpartum on that yacht. Tell me, when did you give birth? Silence. I pressed on, laying out their crimes, the forged documents, the staged dementia, Lily Carter's death. Did you know she was 16? No family to notice when she vanished? As they squirmed, I activated the tiny recorder Jack had hidden in my bracelet. Every word was being captured. You're working with Sophia Bennett, I said, tossing out her name like a grenade. She's killed 37 people, elderly, wealthy, inconvenient, like me. Lauren snapped. Prove it. I smiled coldly. Oh, I will. Maria took James Lily to the nursery, leaving me to lay out the photos. Ethan and Lauren with Sophia. Bank transfers to Coastal Horizons. The timeline of my planned murder. This, I said, holding up the recorder, is going to put you away for a long time. They didn't confess. Instead, they doubled down. Jack called at dawn the next day. His voice urgent. They're moving fast. Hired a cleaner, a hitman, to finish you off. Sophia's tying up loose ends. And that includes the baby. My stomach dropped. James Lily, an innocent pawn, was now a target. Rosa, who'd become my rock, made calls. And within minutes, Tom had us speeding to a safe house, a secluded cabin on a private island off Key Largo. Accessible only by his boat. Jack arrived with more news. Sophia's part of a bigger network, corrupt cops, medical examiners, probate judges. They've stolen $250 million from seniors across Florida and beyond. He showed me files on 20 other victims. All elderly, all accidental deaths. Rosa, who volunteered at a local hospital, recognized Sophia from a visit where she'd posed as a social worker. Scouting lonely patients. She's a predator, Rosa said, her voice hard. I spent the morning writing everything down, every detail of Ethan and Lauren's betrayal. Every piece of evidence on Sophia's empire. If I died, the truth would live. But Jack had a plan. Use me as bait to get Sophia's confession on tape. She's coming to your old house tonight, he said. Thinks you'll trade your life for the babies. I agreed, knowing the risk. Maria planted cameras and recorders in the mansion, hiding with James Lily in the basement's old servant's entrance, ready to flee if things went south. At 6 p.m., I walked into my former home. Heart pounding. Ethan answered, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Mom, he whispered, and for a fleeting second, I saw the boy I'd loved. Hello, Ethan, I said. I'm here, as promised. Lauren paced, her composure fraying. She'll be here soon, she muttered. Sophia arrived at 7 o'clock. A petite woman in a tailored suit, carrying a leather portfolio like we were at a board meeting. Evelyn Harper, she said, extending a hand. So glad you survived your little swim. We have much to discuss. She spoke with chilling calm, admitting to 37 resolutions of elderly clients who were financial burdens. You'll be number 39, she said, smiling. A tragic house fire, I think. Faulty wiring in these old mansions. And the baby, such a shame. I stared at her, then at Ethan and Lauren, who sat frozen. This is what you wanted? My death. A child's death? Sophia shrugged. Loose ends complicate things. That's when the FBI stormed in, through doors, windows, the basement. Agent Maria Torres, Jack's partner, cuffed Sophia as she read her rights. Conspiracy to commit murder. Racketeering. Elder abuse. Sophia tried to bolt but was tackled in the kitchen. Ethan and Lauren sat stunned as agents swarmed, seizing evidence. Jack revealed his true role, an FBI operative who'd been tracking Sophia for years. My confrontation, recorded live, had given them the confession they needed. The legal fallout was swift. Ethan and Lauren took plea deals, 27 years for him, 22 for her, convicted of conspiracy, fraud, and accessory to Lily Carter's murder. Sophia Bennett faced trial, her empire exposed, and was sentenced to life without parole. The network unraveled, with 19 arrests and $250 million in stolen assets traced. Lily's family, found in Georgia, supported my decision to adopt James Lily Harper. At 67, I became his mother, raising him with the truth about his brave young mother and the grandfather he'd never meet. Today, James Lily is a bright 5-year-old who knows his story. Rosa still runs her bed and breakfast, now advising seniors on protecting their estates. Tom's a local hero, his fishing charters booked solid by those who've heard the tale of the grandmother he saved. Jack sends postcards from his next case, always with a note, keep fighting. Evelyn. As for Ethan, his letters from prison go unanswered. I've learned family isn't blood or money. It's the people who choose you. Who protect the vulnerable. Who stand against greed. James, Lily and I have that family now. And it's worth more than any fortune. If you're watching, hit subscribe and tell me where you're from. Your story matters.